Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Champagne's Corner, my favorite corner on the internet. Welcome to my little space on the internet YouTube sphere. Eminem just dropped a new album, I think a couple days ago. I am a huge Eminem stan. I don't think he can do anything wrong. Granted, there are a couple projects I don't like, but I like a lot of his more recent, newer stuff. I loved Revival. I thought it was a really good album. Kamikaze, I felt, was super great. It felt like he was getting back into his old ways of doing stuff. And then this new project, I've already had a chance to listen to the whole thing. I like it. I really do. I still wouldn't put it on top of one of his greatest albums he's ever made, but I still think it's a really, really good project. And I think people give him too much flack for these projects where they wouldn't give mainstream artists, newer artists, the same type of credit. I feel like that's the thing that messes Eminem up, is that his older catalog, how good it was, how great it was, ruins all of his newer stuff. And especially now with the way that hip hop is trending, where people want to vibe out, they want more lo-fi beats, stuff that you can kind of melt into the music. His boom bap style, his rappity rap style doesn't transcend to this type of generation. I'm always going to mess with it. I love Eminem. I think he's the GOAT, if not one of the greatest of all time. He's one of the best to ever do it, and no one should ever take that away from him. Even when he does his new projects, because I think the day we actually see him leave, and we have left are the people that don't really enunciate what they do, enunciate when they do music. It's going to be a shame to have that void in the hip-hop universe, the hip-hop culture. So without further ado, this is his music video he dropped. So we're going to go ahead, dive deep in. I know there's 1,000 other reactions on it, but you know what? I'm going to keep reacting to stuff. I don't care. We here. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it.
Here I am alone again, can't get out of this hole I'm in. It's like the walls are closing in, you can't help me, no one can. I can feel these curtains closing, I go to open them, but something pulls them closed again.
So far off the bat, I'm going to be really analyzing the poetry of it, and it's talking about being in the darkness, being alone again. And no matter how many times he tries to open up the curtains to kind of let light in, he doesn't know what's closing it, the light, closing away the light. So far the shots, we're looking at I know the Mandalay Bay hotel room, he's stuck in this hotel room right now. And I think that's pretty indicative of artists nowadays, right? A lot of times their hotel rooms become their home, and where it feels where darkness and demons hit. We hear NF talk a lot about it when he talks about being on the hotel floor, crying. Listen to How Could You Leave Us through his iPhone speaker, right? We hear artists convey that these hotel rooms are become the only thing that feel like home to them. And I think that's nothing short of Eminem, somebody that's been in the game for 21 years. His first project was 1998. I mean, shit. I was born 1998. He's been on the road stardom for my entire life. And, that's probably one of the things that feels pretty indicative, especially of an artist that has been super recluse these last almost half of a decade. You know what I mean?
Feels like I'm loathing in Las Vegas. Haven't got the Vegas, why I'm so lost. But I'd make you the small wager. If I bet you I'll be in tomorrow's paper, who would the odds favor? I'm so much like my father. You would think that I knew him. I keep pacing this room, value and chase it with booze.
So as an Eminem fan, I know that he has a huge problem with drugs and addiction. That's just stuff he's labeled out in his music, stuff that he's definitely talked about in the past, and it's kind of scary almost to hear him talk about this stuff as being his friend, being the thing that he's chasing. But granted, being an addict, being addicted to something, even when you become sober, you can still have that need to chase that addiction, chase that dragon. I started noticing, let's talk about the being in the newspaper, who the odds favor, stuff like that. More Vegas bars, more stuff where he's harping on that.
One little taste that'll do. Maybe I'll take it and snooze, then tear up the stage in a few. Fuck the Colt 45. I'ma need something stronger. If I pop any caps, it better be off of vodka. Round after round after round, I'm getting loaded. That's a lot of shots, huh?
I'm glad he zoomed in on this. The imagery and like the lyrics that keep going. It's like fuck a Colt 45, right? Colt 45 is a beer, but it's also a gun, right? And he talks about taking shots, which can be indicative of alcohol and both bullets, right? Killing yourself. And then round after round after round, right? It's similar to a bar where you're buying round after round after round, or also when you're shooting round after round after round. It's super double entendres, especially with the imagery, right? Where he has one shot glass full of alcohol and he has another one full of bullets. Like, how indicative, like, they keep going back and forth. That's like the beauty of it, right? And it's like people are like, oh, he's not good, but he's like, how many artists nowadays are really doing this, right? They're showing the double entendres. They're showing the artistic capability of painting pictures, right? Like, they're not doing this. And that's why I think it's kind of like unfair to discredit Eminem, because he doesn't have tracks like a Drake, like a Juice WRLD, or like a Playboi Carti, or Lil Uzi Vert. Like, they're not in the same category. They're just in the same genre. You know what I mean?
Service menu off a benzo. I can hear the music continue to crescendo. I can see the whole fucking venue from my window. That's when you know you're schizo. Cause I keep peeking out the curtain from the hotel. The music is so loud.
I think this is a callback to When I'm Gone, when he talks about being in the hotel room, right? And then all of a sudden he goes to leave and the curtain's drawn. When I'm gone, like, you know what he's talking about, where he leaves and turns into the stage. I feel like that's what it's kind of playing back to. That's what, as an Eminem fan, that's what I feel like it's drawing back to. Things like talking about, it's like taking a benzo, right? Taking all these drugs and everything else. Like, if another artist were to do it, right, it's super cool, super fun, super party. But he's on that older end of the spectrum where it's scary, right? And you see so many people die, like R.I.P. Juice WRLD and everything. But how many of these kids, and that's what they are, they're kids, right? I'm a 21-year-old kid taking drugs and dying, overdosing, like Mac Miller. He, granted, what, 27, 28, still a kid, right? Like, I don't know when people officially become adults or anything else, but it's like at this point where it feels like these people that grow up, especially in the artistry, like never truly grow up, especially in front of the public eye, and they end up accidentally overdosing or killing themselves on purpose from the drug use. It's just, I don't know.
It's almost as though I don't hear no sound. I should get ready for the show now. Wait, is this the whole crowd? I thought the shit was sold out. But it's only the opening act. It's early, don't overreact. Then something told me relax and just hope for the show to be packed. Don't wanna hit the stage before they fill each row to the max, cause that'd be totally whacked. You can't murder a show nobody's at. But what if nobody shows? Panic mode, about to snap and go motherfucking wacko at any second. About to cancel the show just as fans below rush the entrance. Plan is to go direct shit, cameras in all directions.
Like, how crazy is that Eminem, an artist of his caliber, artist of his tenure, right, is feeling his mortality almost, like, where he's scared, like, these crowds aren't going to keep being sold out one day, right? Like, even he's not immune to growing out of style, growing out of favor, right? Especially with someone that tours as seldom as he does.
The press is about to go apeshit. Bananas on all the networks. Commando with extra clips. I got ammo for all the hecklers. I'm armed to the teeth. Another volume fall off the bed, hit the ground and crawl to the dresser. Alcohol on my breath as I reach for the scope. I'm blacking out. I'm all out of meds with the.
That was a good misdirect. Reaching for the scope. Scope as in mouthwash. Reaching for the scope as his gun. Just sorry.
Benzodiazepine's gone now. Just magazines sprawled out on the floor. Fuck the media. I'm going all out. This is war. People start to show up. Time to start the show up. It's 10:05 p.m. and the curtain starts to go up. And I'm already sweating, but I'm locked and loaded. For rapid fire spitting, for all the concert goers. Scopes for sniper vision. Surprise out of nowhere. As I slide the clip in from inside the hotel, leaning out the window, going Kaiser Sosa, finger on the trigger. But I'm a licensed owner with no prior convictions, so loss is sky's the limit. So my supply's infinite, strapped like I'm a soldier. Got 'em hopping over walls and climbing fences. Some of them John Travolta, staying alive by inches. Cops are knocking, oh fuck. Thought I blocked the entrance. Guess your time is over. No suicide note, just a note for target distance. But if you'd like to know the reason why I did this, you'll never find a motive. Truth is, I have no idea. I am just as stumped, no signs of mental illness. Just trying to show you the reason why we're so fucked. Cause by the time it's over, we'll make the slightest difference.
Damn.
Yeah, we do have some breaking news from the Associated Press.
And isn't this the fucked up thing, right? Like, he goes to talk about and have a message and talk about stuff, and then people are like, oh, fuck you, it's whack. Like, this is real shit, right? Like, kids are dying every day. People are dying doing stuff. Like, there's domestic terrorism, and no one wants to call it domestic terrorism, right? There are people that are homegrown in the United States committing acts of terrorism against other Americans, and that's domestic terrorism. And he does this shit, and then people are like, whack album. No, he has a message, right? And like, people just want to harp on like lines that are like offensive and everything else, but no one wants to talk about really the good shit that he's doing. Like, he wants to bring awareness to this shit, right? You won't find a motive. You won't find mental illness, right? Like, you won't find like just anything, right? Because like, by the time you get to me, I've already killed myself, right? I'm just doing this just to do this, right? And then people will make excuses like, oh, he might have been dealing with demons and mental illness, like, that's not the person. No, it's the fucking person. It was a fucking piece of shit, fucking piece of scum that killed innocent people that were just trying to enjoy concerts and everything. A domestic terrorist. Terrorists aren't people from the Middle East. Terrorists can be anyone that tries to incite terror in a public space. Like, that's what he's trying to get at, and people just don't respect it.
Right now, just going to bring that up because we are hearing, we have told you that the shooter is dead, and we have just learned that police are saying that the Las Vegas shooter killed himself.
That is the bartender there in Mandalay Bay, and I believe we are going to...
Yeah, we just wanted to share that with you. You can see behind me here, this is what he looks like. Now, we did just tell you that police, just earlier, Metro was telling us that he killed himself
God.
inside the hotel room.
Just
Good morning. As we come to you on the air,
mass shooting.
news, a school shooting. Another school shooting reports a number of fatalities, and this time it is in Santa Fe, Texas.
Another
It is just
shooting.
outside Galveston. A suspect
Another shooting.
out of Southern California. We're following breaking news this morning. Another deadly school shooting. This one in Santa
Another
Fe,
shooting.
Texas. It's just outside Houston.
26 killed
Affiliate
and
is
20
reporting
others
at
wounded.
least
Was now the
9
deadliest shooting in Texas history. Dead and attacked a opening fire outside the church during a morning worship session. He unloaded a chaotic and making his way inside.
This, a deadly shooting at a food festival in Northern California. 3 people so far dead.
Breaking news: a deadly shooting in a newspaper
Fuck.
office in Annapolis. Newly released surveillance video
This
shows
just hit on a lot of... when will this end, right? And I definitely don't, like, this is a very good step in, like, the right direction, right? Because we have so many kids dying, right? So many people dying from guns in the United States, right? But I don't think gun control is the answer, right? You make everyone give up their guns. Not everyone's going to give up their guns. And then you're immediately unarmed, right? Right? It's like when there's a shooting at a school, it's because it's a gun-free zone, right? No one's expected to have a gun and fire back, right? We saw the shooting that just happened at that Texas church on the same day that there was the synagogue stabbing during Hanukkah. And you see the partitioners, right, just pull out guns and shoot because these sick fucks target soft targets, right? Where they're more likely not to respond back to deal the most damage, right? They're not going to a military base and going to shoot up there, right? They want to cause the most devastation, the most action, right? And I don't think taking away guns from everyone isn't it, because not everyone's going to give up guns, right? People don't focus on ghost guns, illegal guns, like how many guns people can buy without a license, right? And like, oh, it's an illegal firearm. Yeah, it still does the same thing as a legal firearm. The difference between a legal firearm and an illegal firearm is one is registered. They still do the same amount of damage. Honestly. And I don't think unarming America is the next step, right? And it's like, oh, we don't need AR-15s, right? And you're going to take them away. But every time they try to ban like a certain gun, right, you see the sale of them stockpile. Oops. Nope, I don't want that. But like, you see the sale of them stockpile, right? And everyone just starts like hoarding on to them, right? And it's like, there is no proper way to address this, right? Besides like addressing mental health, addressing who can get guns and stuff like that. But there's already so many guns out there. It's hard to figure out what's the next thing, right? And then we look at like the UK, right, who have very strict gun laws, and there's massive stabbings, right? Mass stabbing attacks. And so it's like, we need to start calling it what it is. It's domestic terrorism, right? And it's hard to stop domestic terrorism, right? It's hard to stop one man with a plan, right? Because they're not telling anybody else, right? And so I don't have an answer to this, but we need to start an open dialogue, right? It's like, gun control is a great idea in theory, but criminals aren't going to give up their guns, right? You have those white dudes or you have those older dudes, right, that won't give up their guns, right? If you play by the rules, you're going to lose by someone who didn't play by the rules. And that's just the best way I can put that. I don't think this is going to get monetized. Granted, I can't monetize my channel anyway, but hope y'all like it. I love Eminem. I'm a stan. But if you don't, let me know about it down below. Let me know what I should react to next. And I'll appreciate y'all, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.